The battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose from broken buildings. Fires burned across the sky. Once this city had life. Now it was full of ash, blood, and metal. Captain Mark walked slowly through the rubble. His boots crunched over glass and bone. His gun stayed tight in his hands. He didn't trust the silence. This war with the Virulents had taught him one thing: never relax. The enemy had attacked Earth without warning. Giant ships had come through the clouds, dropping alien soldiers who fought without fear or mercy. But Earth didn't die easily. Humanity fought back with everything it had, and men like Mark were still alive to prove it. He moved past a collapsed wall and froze. There beneath twisted metal and stone something moved. Mark aimed his rifle, finger ready to fire. A shape was crawling slowly. Then a whisper reached his ears, soft and broken. Double quotes. P dash please down single quotes T . He narrowed his eyes and stepped closer. It was a female Virelin. Her armor was cracked. Blood dark blue and thick leaked from a deep wound on her side. Her long white hair was messy and soaked in dust. One of her legs was trapped under debris. Mark aimed at her head. Move again, and you die. The alien coughed, trembling. Her golden eyes looked up at him, not with hate, not with anger, but with fear. I'm not your enemy anymore, she whispered. Please, don't kill me. Mark didn't move. His fingers stayed on the trigger. He had lost too many friends to her kind. Give me one reason, he said coldly. Then she did something strange. She reached up with her hands, placed them on the ground, and pushed herself into a kneeling position. Her head bowed low. Her voice shook. Spare me, human. I'll be yours. Mark blinked. Did he hear that, right? I'll follow you. I'll do anything. Just don't kill me. She was trembling now, weak and broken. She wasn't lying. Mark had seen lies. This was fear, real fear. Why should I trust you? He asked. Your kind burn cities. The Virelin nodded slowly. Yes, but not all of us wanted this war. Some of us were forced to fight. I tried to run. My commander beat me, threw me into the front lines. I never wanted to be here. Mark looked around. The ruins were quiet, but his guns were down. No backup, no orders. Just him and a half-dead alien warrior begging for her life. He lowered the gun just a little. What's your name? She hesitated. They called me Vela. All right, Vela, he said. I'm taking you. If you try anything at all, I end it. Vela nodded slowly. I won't. Mark pulled a small power tool from his belt and began cutting through the metal pinning her leg. She gasped in pain but stayed silent. No threats. No attacks. When the last piece of debris moved, she collapsed into his arms. He caught her carefully. Her body was warm, shaking, lighter than he expected. She wasn't some monster now. She was just tired, scared, bleeding. He tied her hands with a cord, not too tight. He slung his rifle over one shoulder and helped her walk. They moved through the broken streets. Smoke stung their eyes. Distant explosions still echoed in the background. As they walked, Vela looked up at him with weak eyes. Why didn't you kill me? Mark looked ahead. I don't know yet. The sun was starting to set behind the burning city. Mark led Vela through the ruins carefully, watching every shadow. The war wasn't over, not yet, and any movement could attract enemies. But right now, his enemy was half-conscious, bleeding, and barely able to walk. Vela limped beside him, still, tied at the wrists. Her silver armor was cracked, her skin pale from blood loss. But she didn't complain. She didn't resist. She just walked quietly, her golden eyes always on him. They reached an abandoned storage bunker half buried in dust and stone. Mark checked. The scanner, no life signs around. It was safe, for now. He helped her sit on a piece of broken metal, then sealed the door behind them. Inside, the bunker was dark and cold. Shelves of old supplies lined the walls. It wasn't much, but it was hidden. Mark lit a portable lamp. The soft blue light filled the space. Vela looked at it as if seeing something from another world. Human tech is simple, she said softly. But it works. You speak our language well, Mark said. Too well. She hesitated. I studied your species. Why? I didn't want to fight you, she whispered. I wanted to understand. Mark narrowed his eyes. Understand or infiltrate? Vela shook her head quickly. No, I swear. I was part of a group. We called ourselves listeners. We listened to human transmissions, stories, languages. Some of us admired you. We saw how you fought for each other, how you built your world. We weren't supposed to care, but we did. Mark stared at her. She wasn't lying. There was something broken in her voice, something real. I was punished for it, she continued. When I refused to kill a prisoner, they beat me, locked me in a cage. Then they dropped me into this battle, to die. Mark sat across from her, arms crossed. So why did you beg back there? Why offer yourself to a human? Vela's face turned red, at least, in her species' way. A blue flush ran along her cheeks. I was scared, she said, but also, I felt something. The moment you aimed. At me, I thought, maybe this is the one human who won't see me as a monster. She looked up at him, ashamed. I didn't offer myself out of strategy. I offered because I didn't want to die alone. And if I had to belong to someone, I wanted it to be a human. Mark didn't speak for a moment. Her words were strange. But honest. Then she said something even more shocking. Your people don't know, do they? Mark tilted his head. Know what? My species, the Virellans. We were genetically changed long ago. Some of us were bred, not just to fight, but to bond. To attach ourselves completely to those we serve. She looked down at her tied hands. If I stay with you long enough, I won't just follow your orders. My mind will rewire. I'll see you as my anchor, my protector, my purpose. Mark stared. You're saying you were designed to submit? No, she said sharply. I'm saying I was forced to become. Something I never chose. And now I'm trying to choose. On my own. Silence hung in the room. The lamp buzzed softly. Mark sighed, stood up, and took out a field medkit. Lie down, he said. She looked surprised. You're going to treat me? You're bleeding out. And I don't leave people behind, even strange ones. He knelt beside her, applying the foam to her wound. She winced, but didn't stop him. As he wrapped her side, she whispered, Thank you. Mark glanced at her. You still haven't convinced me you're not a threat. Vela gave a weak smile. Then let me earn it. The night was deep now. Cold wind crept through the cracks in the bunker walls. Outside, distant sounds of war still echoed, dull thuds, short bursts of gunfire. But inside, all was quiet. Mark sat with his back to the wall, rifle on his lap, eyes half closed but alert. Vela was lying nearby on a thin emergency blanket. Her breathing had slowed. The bleeding had stopped, mostly. Her body, though alien, responded well to the med foam. He watched her sleep for a long time. She was different, not just because she surrendered, but the way she spoke, the fear, the honesty. It confused him. Every Virellan he'd seen before had been vicious, cold, ruthless, but she begged to live. Not out of weakness, but something else. Something deeper. Suddenly, she mumbled something in her sleep. Mark stiffened. She was speaking her native tongue low and urgent. Zeka. Sarina Harnik Solins. Protocol. Unlock ... He grabbed his data recorder and quietly pressed record. The alien words came out clear, almost like a chant. But her tone changed. It became mechanical, as if reading lines she didn't understand. Then her eyes opened fast. She looked at him. For a second, confusion, then realization. You heard that? Mark nodded, still calm. Yeah. Want to tell me what that was? She sat up slowly, alarm in her eyes. I don't. No, I was dreaming. That wasn't a dream. That was a command string. You repeated something, like programming. Vela's face lost all color. No, it can't be. They told us they removed that. Removed what? The control layer, she whispered. It was something they gave the first-gen warriors. A deep command set buried so far inside, even we didn't know about it. I thought it was a myth. Mark's voice was low. You said protocol unlock. That's not a dream, Vela. She wrapped her arms around herself. Then they lied to me. He opened his wristpad and fed the audio into a translator loop. It took a few minutes, but the program found a match. Protocol unlock. Standby for mental override. Host target. Identified. Link forming. Mark froze. Host target. He looked at her. That target is me. Vela's breath caught. No, I swear, I didn't choose this. If something inside me is linking to you, it's automatic. I didn't want this. Didn't. Want it? Mark asked. You offered yourself to me. You said you'd be mine. Yes, but not like this, she said, shaking her head. I said those words from fear and maybe something else, but not because I was programmed. Mark believed her, but the fact remained she was changing. And not by choice. What happens if the link completes? He asked. She looked away. I don't know. Some say the bond becomes unbreakable. Others say the host can give commands and will obey without question. So you'd be a slave? Yes. Silence followed. Then she whispered, but I don't want to be a weapon anymore. I want to feel like a person. Even if I'm broken. Mark stood up. He walked to the far side of the bunker, his mind racing. This wasn't just about war anymore. This was deeper. This was a living being trapped in a cage built inside her own mind. And now, that cage was shifting toward him. He looked back at her. She was hugging her knees, face buried, like a child lost in a storm. All right, he said at last. She looked up. I'll help you figure this out. But if this thing inside you tries to control me or hurt others, I'll do what I have to. Vela nodded. Fair. Mark sat beside her again. For a while, they said nothing. Then she looked at him softly. You don't have to trust me. Just don't give up on me. Mark didn't answer, but he didn't walk away either. Morning came without sunlight. The sky outside the bunker was thick with smoke and ash. The air was dry. Everything felt heavy. But inside, the silence was even worse. Mark hadn't slept. He sat near the entrance, watching the scanner, listening for any movement. But his thoughts kept returning to her, to what she had said, and what she hadn't. Vela was quiet too. She had curled up in a corner, hugging her knees. Her golden eyes stared at the floor. Unfocused. She hadn't spoken since the night before. Mark stood and walked to a nearby crate. Inside, he found a half-working med scanner, the kind used for battlefield scans. It was old, but it could still detect genetic anomalies. Maybe it could explain what she really was. He looked at her. I need answers, he said. She gave a slight nod. He placed the scanner near her neck. A blue light passed over her skin, scanning bones, blood, and brain signals. The device hummed for a few seconds, then beeped. Mark read the results. His breath caught. What is it? She asked, seeing his expression. You're not just enhanced. You're something else. Vela's voice shook. What do you mean? You're part synthetic. Not a machine, but built like one. Inside your brain, there's something hidden. A neural seed, coded to activate under certain conditions. She didn't move. Mark looked closer at the data. This seed is designed to bond with one person, only one. Once locked, your thoughts, emotions, even pain levels start matching theirs. Vela whispered, That's why I've been feeling strange. Mark nodded. You weren't just trained to obey. You were built to belong. Vela closed her eyes. I was born in a facility. She said quietly, not raised, created. The scientists said we were tools for peace. But peace meant winning wars. We were never given choices. Just orders. Mark felt something twist inside him. She hadn't chosen this. Her entire life had been shaped, engineered for obedience. But something went wrong, she continued. When I first saw humans not in battle, but on your broadcasts, I felt something strange. I didn't understand it then. I just knew. I didn't want to fight anymore. She looked at him now, eyes soft. And when I saw you in the rubble, I didn't feel fear. I felt safe, like I had finally reached the place I was meant to be. Mark didn't know what to say. He had faced monsters, killers, machines, but she wasn't any of those. She was just someone trying to be free. You don't have to be what they made you, he said. But how? She asked. It's in me. I can feel it, the connection. It's growing stronger. Soon, it won't just be my choice. My thoughts will follow yours. Then we find a way to stop it, Mark said firmly, or control it before it controls you. Vela nodded slowly. For the first time, there was light in her eyes, hope. But then the scanner beeped again. Mark checked. The screen dot his face went pale. What is it now? She asked, alarmed. They tagged you, he said. Your DNA is broadcasting a silent signal, a long-range beacon. Your people know exactly where you are. Vela's eyes widened. Then they're coming. Mark tightened the straps on his gear. He handed her a small blade, her hands still tied, but he let her hold it. We need to move, now. She stood shakily, but ready. Will you keep trusting me? She asked. He looked at her, this strange, dangerous, broken creature who had dropped to her knees and begged to live. I don't know what you are yet, he said. But you saved my life the moment you didn't take yours. That's enough for now. Then they ran out into the fire, together, asterisk. They moved through the broken ruins like shadows. Mark led from the front, his eyes scanning for drones and patrols. Behind him, Vela limped, her wounds bandaged but still fresh. The beacon inside her body was silent to human ears, but to her. People, it was a flare in the dark. She was a walking target. They had less than an hour before the Varellans arrived. Mark had planned to reach an old Earth-come outpost in Sector D9. If he could get a message out, reinforcements might extract them. But it was risky, and the enemy was closing fast. As they crossed an empty highway split in two. A faint sound reached them, the low hum of alien engines. Vela looked up at the sky. They're here. Mark pulled her behind a fallen crawler tank. You said they think you're dead? They did, she said. But if they find me with you, they'll know the truth. They'll execute me, and anyone near me. Then we don't let them find us, Mark said, checking his weapon. She looked at him, a strange emotion in her golden eyes. You could. Leave me. They'd let you live. Mark smirked. You really don't understand humans yet. Suddenly, voices echoed from the west, clicking, sharp alien commands. Search parties. Mark turned to Vela. Stay here. If they find me, run the other way. No, she said quickly. If they find you, I won't run. He frowned. Vela, before. He could finish. She stepped out into the open, straight into the enemy's path. Mark froze. Armored Virellan soldiers appeared on a ridge. They raised their plasma rifles the moment they saw her. Wait, one shouted. That's the prototype. The bond isn't complete yet. They started moving fast too fast. Mark rushed forward, but Vela turned and shouted, Don't! If they see you, they'll kill you. She faced the incoming soldiers, arms raised, but something had changed in her face. She was no longer afraid. Step away from the human, one of them barked. He saved me, she said. I won't betray him. He's your enemy. Vela's. Voice rose, steady and firm. No, you are. Without warning, the lead soldier lifted his weapon. Mark fired first. The blast hit the alien square in the chest. The other two scattered. Mark dove behind a pile of steel, shooting again. Vela moved toward him, but one soldier fired, and she jumped in the way. The plasma shot struck her shoulder. She fell with a cry, rolling to the ground. Mark grabbed her and pulled her behind cover. You idiot, he said. Why did you do that? She coughed. Because I chose you, not them. Her blood was everywhere, thick and blue. Mark pressed a med patch to her shoulder, but the bleeding was bad. The Virellans retreated for now, likely to call for reinforcements. We need to move, Mark said. You can't fight like this. I don't want to fight, she whispered. I want to be free. Mark helped her up, supporting her weight. Then stay close. They moved together, deeper into the ruins. But something was different now. Something had changed, not just in her, but in him. She had taken a plasma bolt for him. She didn't have to. She wasn't acting like a soldier anymore. She was acting like someone who had made a choice. A real one, and that choice was him. They moved in silence, the wind howling through the skeletal ruins around them. Mark's arm supported Vela, who leaned on him, barely able to walk. Her shoulder was burned, the plasma wound deep. But her steps never stopped. They reached the old Earth communications tower, a broken steel structure with rusted plates and a half-buried control room. It had once sent signals across the planet. Now it was silent and forgotten. Mark kicked the door open and helped her inside. The roof had collapsed in one corner, but the command terminal still glowed faintly. This is it, he said, laying her gently against a wall. If I can reboot the transmitter, Earth Command will hear us. Vela nodded weakly. Do it. I'll hold off anyone who comes. You can't even hold yourself up, Mark said. You're not a soldier anymore. She smiled faintly. Maybe not, but I'm still yours. Mark paused. Those words, I'm still yours, hit him harder than gunfire, but he turned back to the terminal. His hands moved fast, bypassing cracked keys and dead circuits. The system flickered, then flashed online. Connection found. Earth Outpost Channel 7. He tapped in the emergency code. Suddenly, a high-pitched noise echoed outside. Drones. Fast ones. Mark turned to Vela. We've got incoming. She tried to stand, fell, then reached for her small blade instead. If they reach you, I'll stop them. No, Mark said. He placed the blade down. You've done enough. But then the terminal flashed again. Not just outgoing signals. Incoming ones. Virellan command link detected. Initiating override sequence. Mark's eyes widened. They're trying to take control of you remotely. Vela gasped, her body trembling. I can feel it. Inside my head, the voices. Fight it, he said, kneeling beside her. You're stronger than them. I'm not, she whispered. I was made to obey. No, you chose not to. That means you've already broken them. Her breath came in shallow gasps. Her eyes began to glow faintly. The signal was trying to rewrite her mind, pull her back. But then she reached for him. Her hand touched his face. Gently. Mark, look at me. He did. In her golden eyes, he saw fear, pain, but something more powerful than both. Will. And in that moment, the glow faded. The override failed. Command rejected. Neural bond confirmed. Independent link. Mark stared at the terminal. She had beaten it. You fought it off, he said. Vela smiled. No, we did, but it wasn't over yet. Outside, the enemy drones were closing in fast metal wings, slicing the wind. Mark sent the full data dump to Earth Command. Beacon logs, her DNA files, the override attempt proof of everything. He slammed the send button. The terminal blinked green. Transmission sent. Response time, 8 minutes. Then the walls shook. Explosions outside. Mark picked up his rifle. But before he could move, Vela stood beside him, wounded, weak, but standing. You'll never be alone, she said softly. She raised her hand and activated the command hidden in her code. A pulse spread from her body like a wave. Outside, every drone stopped mid-flight. They hovered for a second, then fell, crashing into the ground like metal rain. Mark looked at her in shock. She smiled faintly. I just told them I'm no longer theirs. Sirens filled the air. Dropships roared overhead. Earth's backup had arrived late, but not too late. Soldiers poured in, but they didn't find an enemy here. They found a human standing beside a former weapon. Now just a woman who made a choice. A new report was written that day. Alien prototype Vela, declared non-hostile. Refused override, saved human life. Current status, bond confirmed voluntary. Epilogue. Months passed. Vela now lived on Earth, in a quiet green zone far from the warfront. She walked without chains, spoke without fear. The neural bond had changed, but it no longer controlled. It connected. Mark often visited. Sometimes they didn't talk. They just watched the sunrise together, because in a war that tried to turn life into weapons, she chose love. She chose freedom. She chose him. Asterisk.